So, how long do you think it'll be before these two here actually turn on each other? My guess is around about... Hey folks, MasakoX here. One of the things I like to discuss here are fan-generated ideas, and the best way to do that here, with us, is joining us for our weekly roundtable live streams, where my friends and I sit down and like to discuss what-ifs and questions with you lot out there. And one of the biggest requests that we've gotten from these live streams that we've had, outside of Vegeta being a woman, that'll happen at 750,000 subscribers, so you know, was the idea of the other version of the Goku Do monkey here, Turles, becoming a better person, being used more as a character because, okay, granted, Havelock and I weren't so sure as to why there was such a huge fandom for this character, despite the minimal content and basic premise, but in the end, we gave it a go, and it turns out that this is the most grounded redemption story that we've done for the channel. Certainly the most gradual. This isn't going to be one of your sudden about faces here. This will take some time. In the last part, we had Turles licking his wounds, cursing himself for failing to get his hands on the energy of Earth via the Tree of Might, but he hadn't even gotten so much as a bite. The first time that he and his posse had failed to secure any new fruit or seeds. Now, nearly looking like he was about to stumble back to Elec, with his tail between his legs, literally, he took the choice to use his connections to stalk Prince Vegeta, whom had just left Frieza Planet 79 on course for Namek for their Dragon Balls. When his crew intercepted the former royal, the two then made a pact to work together for mutual benefit. Sure, they did want to see Frieza taken down a peg or two, but their ultimate goals weren't exactly aligned. They were also powerful Saiyans who were similar in power, yet Vegeta didn't know this entirely. He was just being assuming as he did in those days. They knew that one would turn against the other, but not when that situation would occur. For now, they had one hand behind their backs in waiting, but continued to work as one unit for the moment, and this led to them arriving on Namek and then beginning to be a joint thorn in Frieza's backside. But our doubts starting to form already. After the villagers were gone, the last traces of communities wiped clean from life, Vegeta and Turles had to make another act very quickly, in case Frieza's goons showed up not long after. They now have to decide what they're going to do with the Dragon Ball. They only had one right now, not enough to mount a charge for the dragon or even think of a wish, but it was enough to ensure that at least their common enemy wouldn't be able to realize their newfound goal. They could cause some problems. Turles, with the most assets available right now, had the best options to provide at this time. Or so he thought. We should hide it on my ship. It should be secure with Dais and the others. Also, if anyone else is looking for these, they wouldn't think to look on a cloaked ship. Vegeta, however, tilted his head. Oh? Thinking of cutting and running? Turles looked as if he was saying, are you serious? Don't you think that that would be the first place they would search? They may not have scouters, but I'm pretty sure that Frieza might look for, I don't know, foreign vessels that aren't of Namekian origin. And no offense to your precious band of merry men, but both of us know that they don't stand a chance against him. Turles' eyes narrowed. As I've said many times, Vegeta, I can cloak my ship. However, I understand your point. Do you have any better ideas then? We can hide it at the bottom of that lake. The pirate was baffled by this suggestion. It was almost as if the prince had just plucked that idea out of the ether right at that moment. Where was his strategic nous? Excuse you and your entire royal lineage? A lake? Unguarded? At least with my plan, we could move it around so it's not in one place. This just sounds backwards. Vegeta smirked. Tell me, Turles, what is the matter with this plan? It's because it's so backward that nobody would dare look there. It would be too obvious to them. And besides, put yourself in their boots. Would you think about looking for the Dragon Ball in that lake? Or on a ship? Really? Turles was still not convinced by this plan. But to hide it in some water? That's just insane! Vegeta was feeling Turles' mask slipping, and he went in to turn the screw further. I mean, your crew might not put up a long fight,
but it might be long enough to give us, I don't know, some time to relocate the ball, if it were not on the ship. But if it were on the ship, there'd be no time to act. If I were Frieza, I would search in every Namekian village or in enemy ships, not in the lake. That's where I have an advantage over you, Turles. I know our enemy personally.
Turles clenched his fist.
Again, cloaking device!
I see that all that bootlicking at least got you somewhere. Vegeta quickly lost his smugness, though.
What's that supposed to mean?
The screwdriver was now in Turles' possession. You know, since the meteor struck, there have been rumors about you, circling around the galactic networks, about how Frieza bent you over to his will. And believe me, these rumors were not flattering in the slightest.
You seem to be trying your luck here. Remember your place. You are but a low-class warrior who is only working with me due to a lack of alternatives.
Vegeta's movements became tense as he held the Dragon Ball in a more firm manner. Turles kept retorting. The question you should be willing to ask yourself, Prince, is this. Are you willing to bet the entire plan, the whole operation, on hiding the ball at the bottom of some lake? Doesn't that sound to you something like a prince would do? Vegeta glared at Turles, unmoved.
This is the only option we have.
Turles eyed the orb. Very well, but if we lose it, it's on you. Allowing the prince to win this petty squabble, Vegeta threw the orb into the water, but never lost sight of the pirate. The cordial period of their cooperation was clearly over. They had 6 of these Dragon Balls left to find, and if this was the way things were going to be, working with each other with each discovery, Turles reckoned it was going to be a very long and laborious time on this desolate planet. All of these wheelings and dealings now had a lot more paranoia bundled in for good measure. As for Vegeta, he was nowhere near as perturbed. He knew that he could take on this low-class scum if it came that way. There was no way that Turles could be stronger than him. The Saiyan class system ensured that. Besides, the prince thought, he had witnessed Turles in battle anyway. Sure, he was impressive for what he was, but still not clearly his level. Turles let Vegeta lead the way, readjusting his scouter. Oh, you poor idiot. If only you knew the truth, he thought to himself. Suddenly, Turles' scouter detects a powerful presence. He stopped and motioned for Vegeta to halt. The person who had the radar, the prince did trust Turles on that front. Wait, Vegeta. There's someone approaching. It must be Zarbon, if my scouter's correct. Vegeta smirks.
Is that so? Good. Then I'll have a good opportunity to get my revenge. I am far stronger than I was the last time I saw him.
Turles was glad that the Bean twins had modified the scouter for one-way operation, it being undetectable to other scouters, but it could still pick up external power sources. Yeah, they may have bodged his new arm together, but this was a real big score for them, and it also ensured that his surprise for all concerned would be left completely in the dark until the best possible moment. As such, Vegeta approaches Zarbon when they indeed met up, and starts to boast his usual rhetoric, much to Turles' dismay. This was the first time he had seen it in action properly, and none of what Vegeta said surprised Turles in the slightest.
Don't worry, little pirate. You can stand there and oil up your robot hand or something. I can take this challenge on my own.
Turles groaned silently. No, he hadn't changed. Took him that short moment to make a complete fool of himself.
Oh, Vegeta. Playing with pirates? I knew you were going to turn on us one day, but this? How desperate must you be?
Vegeta motioned himself into his signature stance, with no change in his smug face.
Oh, don't worry. He's just a cheerleader. He will not interfere. I will make sure of that. Now, bring it on. This is between you and me.
And initially, he does dominate Zarbon, even making Turles start to second-guess his own thoughts from earlier. Maybe Vegeta did have something to back up his words. But this thought was fleeting though, as we all know. Once Zarbon transforms, breaking out the literal big guns, he makes quick work of the Saiyan Prince. The look of surprise on Turles' face gives way to that of silent laughter. He knew to be quiet, but he could still enjoy the sight of the giant Zarbon pounding Vegeta into the dirt. Despite Turles not being the one to throw down the smackdown on Vegeta, he could at least enjoy that moment in peace. He gave Vegeta a slow clap as he got tossed over to Turles' feet. Impressive, Zarbon. I've been trying to get the little prince to go nap-nap for hours. You've done me a service.
Oh, don't you worry. You will be next. I live for pummeling Saiyans into dust.
Turles eyed Vegeta's barely living body, again with much gusto and catharsis. I think your boss never told you this. Zarbon's face contorted into a look of confusion.
Told me? Told me what?
Turles dashed towards Zarbon, leaving Vegeta there on the ground struggling for breath, and got uncomfortably close to Zarbon's face, stunning the brute for a moment. How our biology works. And he landed a mighty punch into the transformed Zarbon's stomach. Zarbon fell on top of Turles' fist. What was that? He couldn't get a read on this guy's power, despite him wearing a scouter. He had assumed that his power might have been so small that it was barely worth registering on his own device. Where did this come from, he thought. It was about the only thing he could think of right now. Turles continued, having gotten the undivided attention of Frieza's second. You see, Vegeta here was under the ludicrous impression that he was stronger than you. For a moment he was, but only for a moment. He has never seen you clearly in that transformed state before. I know someone who has. Zarbon went back at Turles after regaining his composure, and the two got into a surprisingly even trade of punches. No clear sign of domination, but neither of them was showing signs of fatigue. It was literally equal. Zarbon was keen to know how Turles was so calm, so the pirate gladly obliged, feeling in a good mood. It wasn't just with you. Vegeta here was under the impression that he was stronger than me as well. And some time ago, that would have been true. However, said Turles, not interrupting his lecture to Zarbon one bit, and he was growing increasingly jittery about the pirate's power. Where did it end? They struggled for a little while longer, Turles trying to find the right opening for his ultimate takedown, and the massive alien was really taken aback by all of this, that he wasn't dominating the combat entirely. He was barely able to hold his own. If a Saiyan gets into a life-threatening situation, such as this particular bust-up, they get a massive boost in power. He said this as he landed another punch, this time into Zarbon's chest and lung. The clawed hand of Zarbon, though, pierced Turles' good arm. Turles wasn't impervious to damage, of course. And this will be our secret. But I got beaten up pretty badly the other day. For my opponent, let me live. A Saiyan. Isn't that weird? A Saiyan showing mercy? I thought so. But you won't be getting any of that from me. Zarbon looked at Turles, now with twinges of fear starting to show. So, Turles whispered right at his face at that moment to really ram this home. So, I think that I might be slightly stronger than both of you. Before Zarbon was able to fully grasp this revelation, Turles blasted Zarbon's chest from the inside, using his kill driver technique. He looked at the blood on his arm. It felt good to have this level of power and influence over who was the second in command to Frieza. It clearly sent a message. Now, he had taken down both of Frieza's closest goons. But one question plagued his mind right then. Why did all of his enemies have to go for his arms? But the satisfaction of beating Zarbon and showing up Vegeta was enough to stave off the question for the moment. But now, there was one more thing to think about. A simple mathematical equation left to do. What was he going to do with Vegeta? Such a beating would, no doubt, give Vegeta a massive Saiyan power boost. No doubt about that. That's how their nature worked, obviously. He would, after all this was done, end up being stronger than Turles again, after he recovered. The only logical thing right now to do, if Turles wished to remain the strongest Saiyan going, would be to end the prince right now. Since he just saw how fragile this alliance actually was, this wasn't going to go anywhere. Giving him any kind of advantage would be stupid. Vegeta had rounded on him before the real mission had even begun. So, why was he even considering any other option at this time? Well, the little purple imp, that's why. Frieza was a powerful foe, and Turles could not take him on his own. Nobody could do that. And he had a way of ensuring the loyalty of his crew members. Life debts. It was a silly sentiment, but a powerful one, that Vegeta was willing to toe the line for a long time about. If Vegeta was as prideful as he seemed, he would ultimately toe the line with whatever he got, focusing his vengeful ways on the Emperor. Turles activated his scouter on a private frequency. Amond, abort your mission. I will seek the location solo. You come here and grab Vegeta, and tell the beings to put him back together again. Yes, I'm sure. Tell him I took care of Zarbon. You could take some of his remains as proof. I'm sending you the coordinates. He then looked at his damaged arm. Also, bring some medical supplies.
Hey boss, I got you what you needed, but I still think this is a bad idea. Why are you letting this oaf recover after he clearly betrayed you?
Noted, but I knew he would do that. This was part of my plan. But he will be left with a death such as yours, that I chose to let him live instead of leaving him to rot. If he's truly such a great Saiyan warrior, he will honor this debt. Besides, you lot will keep an eye on him. He will not harm you. He has no other options.
Well, what are you gonna do then?
Turles started to bandage his wounded arm. I will seek for the other Dragon Balls on my own, as well as scout for a good place to plant the tree. It looks like we're gonna need it. If I'm going to be getting an edge over the prince once he's all better, then I've gotta do it. He might be stronger then, and try to boss you around. Take a piece of Zarbon to convince him otherwise, should he actually get a little rowdy. There is plenty to choose from here, so, knock yourself out. Armon nodded slowly, picking up the unconscious Vegeta and some Zarbon chunks.
Understood. Be careful, mighty Turles.
Turles nodded. I don't need your concern, Armand, but still, you did good. Thank you. After his sidekick left, Turles looked at his prosthetic arm, inspecting it for a second. It looked secure. Good. As he flies around the planet, he then notices those Earthlings again. The bald one, holding another Dragon Ball. Good. He's alone. Now he'll be able to do what exactly? He pondered for a moment. I mean, he could take the orb from him right there and then, but maybe it might be better to follow him for a bit, from a distance, getting to their base, checking whether or not they'd found any other Dragon Balls. However, it seemed that the bald individual had noticed him, as he started to fly away really quickly. But Turles decided to give chase regardless. It took him some time, of course, but he did catch up with Krillin. Seemingly, they were going towards another Namekian village.
Give me the ball, you little...
But before he was able to react, a green blur hit him in the face, breaking his scouter. It was a Namekian?
I suggest you go back to where you came from, stranger. This Earthling is under my protection.
And that's where we're going to be leaving things for right now. So what do you folks think? Do you think that Turles is now strong enough to fight a composed and fresh Nail? Or is this going to end up being another dose of hubris for both of these Saiyans? Leave a comment below and let's get this discussion going. And I will see you in the next video. Catch you later!